Hey, everybody. All right, let's see. Kemba, that was smart to bring your glasses. I forgot mine, so we'll see if we can get through this. So thank you very much for that kind introduction, but you really shouldn't have read it all, but that's okay. It's like nails on a chalkboard to hear your bio read, actually. I am really honored to receive this award from the Institute for Critical Infrastructure Technology. And Joyce, I had the same issue with the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. So we just say CISA, right? Because it's about as hard to pronounce. But I'm really actually thrilled to be here with Kemba and with Candace, two wonderful, wonderful colleagues and women who are serving on the front lines of our nation to help defend us in cyber. So it's wonderful to receive this with the both of you. So as folks know, CISA is actually the newest agency in the federal government. We were stood up 4 years ago, I think our 4th birthday is next week, November 16th, to be America's cyber defense agency. And our mission is to lead the national effort to understand, manage, and reduce risk to the critical infrastructure that Americans rely on every hour of every day. And I talk to a lot of groups that range from high school kids to critical infrastructure owners and operators, election officials. You know, when you talk about critical infrastructure, people think it's like this really technical thing. And I have to remind people that critical infrastructure is just what Americans rely on to get gas at the pump and food at the grocery store and money from the ATM and power and water and communications and transportation. Critical infrastructure is just the networks and the systems and the data that underpin our daily lives. And being able to work with our partners to protect and defend it is a real privilege. You know, it's interesting, I spent the vast majority of my career in Intel, in the Army, and in counterterrorism. And in those fields, you could argue that the government has monopoly power. But in Homeland Security and cybersecurity, the government's a partner, just a partner really, with our state and local colleagues and our private sector partners. And so being able to create trusted partnerships with groups like this and with the private sector and academia and research and across the federal government is absolutely critical to our success as a nation. You know, the work that ICIT does, which is really at the intersection of technology and national security and critical infrastructure, has arguably never been more important. You know, over the past several decades, the world has become incredibly digitized with a volume, variety, and velocity of data growing exponentially. So we now live in a planet of 7.9 billion people, and 6.6 billion have cell phones. 4.9 billion are on the internet, 4.6 billion are on social media. We now have over 30 billion devices connected to the internet, a number expected to grow to 75 billion by the year 2025. From the first website in 1991, we now have over 1.9 billion websites. And in just 1 internet minute, there are over 575,000 tweets, 2 million snaps, 2.1 million Facebook logins, 3.6 million YouTube videos watched, 5.9 million Google searches, and over 231 million emails sent every internet minute. And I think we know that connectivity has done some really great things. It's brought us together, it's helped us solve problems, but as we've added more devices, more platforms to the internet, we've radically increased the attack surface, and we've created more points of failure, more points of vulnerability. So now we've got a cyber attack roughly every 11 seconds. 1 in 10 of those 1.9 billion websites leads you to malware, and cybercrime damages are expected to cost the world $10.5 trillion by the year 2025. That's the gross domestic product of Germany, India, and the United Kingdom combined. And all this data is available for weaponization by our foreign adversaries for influence operations to sow discord among Americans, to undermine the confidence we have in the fabric of our democracy. And so it is incredibly important that we are here today working together to be able to do our mission. You know, I particularly want to mention how pleased I was that Tuesday went surprisingly well. I mean, as Kemba knows, election infrastructure was not critical infrastructure until 2017. And when election infrastructure was designated critical infrastructure, state and local election officials, whose job it is to run and administer elections, they didn't want anything to do with the federal government. They really didn't. And so huge credit goes to my predecessor and dear friend Chris Krebs and his team for building incredible trusted partnerships with state and local election officials across the country that I gratefully inherited, and have spent the past 16 months working with them, continuing to build those partnerships to ensure that they have the resources and the capabilities and the information that they need to run safe and secure elections. But I'll tell you, this year was probably more complex in terms of the threat environment than it's ever been. It's not just about cyber threats. It was about insider threats. It was about physical threats. Physical threats to these dedicated civil servants who are serving on the front lines of our democracy. Threats of intimidation, threats of harassment, threats of violence. You know, these election officials, they're our neighbors, they're our friends, they're our relatives. It's a little heartbreaking to think about that. And then also rampant disinformation that, again, threatens to undermine the very fabric of our democracy. So I was really, really pleased that it was a good day. It was a good day for democracy. It was a good day for all of us. Now, as we all know, elections don't end when the polls close, but I'm happy that the largely safe and secure, and going to knock some wood here. But again, great kudos to all of our teammates across the government, and really credit to the incredible state and local election officials that, you know, were able to really make this happen in a very professional way. So I was incredibly pleased. You know, I just wanted to talk a little bit about some priorities that we have at CISA, because this is a partnership effort. I think folks know that we have really leaned in hard on collaboration. There's been this term called public-private partnership that, frankly, over the past couple decades has become a little bit hackneyed. And given what I learned at Morgan Stanley, I really, really wanted us to change the paradigm. Not just these public-private partnerships where you go and you meet every month at the FBI field office and maybe you get a briefing, but really something that was continuous. Persistent operational collaboration where federal government partners, state, local, private industry, academia, research are in the room together, sharing in real time data and insights that can help drive down risk to the nation. So whether that's the Joint Cyber Defense Collaborative, the Cyber Safety Review Board, the Joint Ransomware Task Force, these are all things that we have built over the past year to really raise the bar on our collaboration. And I know we've got a lot of teammates here who have been part of that, and I'm really just incredibly proud to be in a room of all of them. I think we also have some CISA teammates here. Raise your hand if you're CISA. There we go. Best team ever. Best team ever. So I want to just leave you with maybe some thoughts that may end up in your research one day. But as I said, we're in a really, really complex threat environment. But I fundamentally believe that the next 15 years, the actions that we take or don't take are going to determine whether we and our like-minded partners win or lose the battle for technology innovation. And a couple challenges I think we need to all think through. First of all, are we going to learn the lessons of underinvestment in 5G technology and dominate the market in 6G technology, or are we going to cede reality to authoritarian regime-linked firms who are going to have the center of gravity for innovating connectivity and set the telecoms agenda for the future? You know, are we going to determine how technologies that are very important and somewhat dangerous, like facial recognition, how they're developed and deployed? Or are we going to defer to anti-democratic nations to set those rules? Are we going to be the first to develop a cryptographically relevant quantum computer? Are we going to lose that battle and see all of our most sensitive secrets unraveled? Are Are we going to figure out how to unleash the power of artificial intelligence for good to spot pathogens in blood samples, to predict emergencies before they occur? Or are we going to defer to our adversaries to use artificial intelligence for manipulation of information, deep fakes for cyber attacks? Same as biotech. Are we going to unleash the power of biotech for good to feed people across the world, to advance medicine, to counter climate change? Or will biotech really be monopolized for bioweapons? And then finally, are we going to reclaim the promise of one global internet that's open, that fosters competition, that preserves privacy, that protects human rights? Or do we have to, are we doomed to manage an increasingly balkanized internet ecosystem? These are all things that are foundational to what ICIT does. And it's why I'm so incredibly pleased to be with all of you tonight and accept this award, because I honestly believe that we have to work together collaboratively to answer those questions. We have to lead in all of those areas. We need to come together and invest aggressively in our intellectual capital, in our human capital, in our technology development, in our collaborative partnerships to ensure that we are shaping a technology ecosystem that is safe, that is secure, that is resilient, and that reflects the values that we hold so dear as a democracy. Thanks so much for the opportunity.